Hello dear students, how are you doing? So students, in this video we will study about circular flow of income. Students, as you know very well that consumption is a never ending process. Every time we do expenditure on goods and services. So expenditure on goods and services is a continuous process. And to satisfy unlimited human wants, producer produces goods and services. And to satisfy unlimited human wants, producer produces goods and services. So production is also a continuous process. Producer needs factor of production for production. Producer needs factor of production for production. Without these factor of production, a producer can't do production. So factor of production are land, labor, capital and entrepreneur. Without these factor of production, producer can't do production, and these are also called factor services. The first is land, the second is labor, the third is capital. Capital is an amount of money which a producer needs to run a business, to start a business. An entrepreneur is a person who has skill to run a business. Because these factors contribute in the production process, so they get reward. And this reward will be called factor income. The person who provide land in the production process, he will get rent. The person who will provide labor in the production process, he will get wages. The person who provide capital in the production process, he will get interest, and the entrepreneur will get profit. So income generation is also a continuous process. So this is first phase. Where income will generate. This phase will be called income generation phase. And this is a phase where income will be distributed among the factor of production. And this phase will be called income distribution phase. And in this phase, all the income earned by factor of production will be disposed. So this is a circular flow of income. It is an unbroken circularity. It never ends. It never stops. So here we come to the definition of circular flow of income. Circular flow of income refers to generation of income in the production phase, distribution of income in the income phase, and disposition of income in the expenditure phase. So this is unbroken circularity. This is called circular flow of income. So students, have a look on the four sectors of economy. Generally, every economy has four sectors. The first is producer sector, which is called firms. The second is consumer sector, which is called owner of factor of production sector. Third is government sector, and fourth is foreign sector, and foreign sector is also called rest of the world sector. Now we will study about circular flow of income in the two sector of the economy as per the CBSE guidelines. So students, here is an economy with two sectors, producer sector and consumer sector. We have assumed here that there are two sectors in the economy and there is no banking sector. So we understand the circular flow of income in a two sector model economy. Producer sector purchases factor services from consumer sector. These are owner of factor of production. Producer sector purchases factor services from consumer sector, that is land, labor, capital and entrepreneurship. And as a reward, consumer sector gets rent, wage, interest, profit. And as a reward, consumer sector gets rent, wage, interest, profit from producer sector. With this money, consumer sector purchases goods and services from producer sector. So money is moving from one sector to another sector. First, it moves from producer sector to consumer sector in the form of rent, wages, interest, profit, and then it moves from consumer sector to producer sector in terms of expenditure on goods and services. So students, you are watching that all the money which is earned by consumer sector in the form of rent, wage, interest, profit is spent on the purchase of goods and services. Means there is no saving in the economy, because we have assumed here that there is no banking sector. So students, there are two types of flows in this circular flow of income. One is real flow and the other is money flow. Real flow is called physical flow and money flow is called nominal flow. So here we understand the concept of real flow and money flow. The flow of goods and services from producer sector to consumer sector and flow of factor services from consumer sector to producer sector is called real flow. Flow of goods and services from producer sector to consumer sector and flow of factor services from consumer sector to producer sector is called real flow. This is called physical flow. And flow of rent, wage, interest, profit from producer sector to consumer sector is called money flow. And flow of money from consumer sector to producer sector for purchasing goods and services is called money flow. So these two are money flow, which is called nominal flow, and these two are real flow, which is called physical flow. So dear students, we have studied circular flow of income in a two-sector model economy. We have also studied that producer sector and consumer sector are interdependent on each other. We have also derived the concept that production phase, income phase and expenditure phase are interdependent on each other. When producer produces goods and services worth rupees 500, then income generation will be of rupees 500 and this 500 will be distributed among the owner of factor of production as a reward for rendering factor services, and this 500 will be disposed on the goods and services. So income phase depend on production phase and expenditure phase depend on income phase. When consumer does expenditure of goods and services of rupees 500, then producer will also get the inducement of doing production of 500 rupees. So the three phases are interdependent on each other. So we can say that in an economy, production is equal to income and income is equal to expenditure. So here students, now I will explain the significance of circular flow of income. Means we will understand that why we are doing study about circular flow of income. The first significance of circular flow of income is that it reveals the interdependence of different sectors. And the second is circular flow of income reveals that there are three ways of calculating GDP. We can calculate GDP from three sides, from production side, for income side and from expenditure side, because these three are identical and these three concepts are equal to each other. Now dear students, we will study about the interdependence between the four sectors of the economy with banking sector, and we will also understand that how production, expenditure and income tend to expand in the economy and how these three things, these three concepts tend to contract in the economy. So let's understand the interdependence between the four sectors with banking sector. The three sectors, producer sector, government sector and consumer sector, tend to save in the banking sector, and banking sector provides loan to the three sector also. So this is the interdependence between the three sector with banking sector. Now we will understand the interdependence between producer sector and government sector. Producer sector provides goods and services to the government sector and government sector make payment for it. And government sector provide basic infrastructural facility to the producer sector and producer sector pay tax for that to the government. Now we will understand the interdependence between government sector and consumer sector. Now we will understand the interdependence between the government sector and consumer sector. Consumer sector provides factor services to the government sector to run its public sector undertaking, and government sector make payment for it, and government sector make payment for it. Government sector provide basic infrastructure facility to the consumer sector like road, park, etc. and consumer sector pay tax for that. Now we will see the interdependence between these three sectors and foreign sector. These three sector exports in the foreign sector, and these three sector also import from the foreign sector. So now we have studied the interdependence between the four sectors with banking sector. Dear students, now we will study about the injection and leakages. Injection are those macro variables which expand the circular flow of income, which means these are those macro variables which increase the production activity in the economy. These are three types. These are of three types: exports, investment and government expenditure. When export increases in the Indian economy, which means demand for Indian products increase in the foreign sector, which leads to increase in the production in the Indian economy, and which leads to increase in the income in the Indian economy, and which leads to expenditure in the Indian economy. Investment, when investment increases in Indian economy, which leads to increase the production activity in the economy, which leads to increase in the income, and which leads to increase in the expenditure. Government expenditure, when government expenditure increases on the infrastructural facilities like road, transport, communication, so that production activity increases, income increases and expenditure increases. So these are those macro variables which expand the circular flow of income, means which increase the flow of goods and services in the economy, which means GDP tend to increase. Now we come to the leakages. Leakages are those macro variables which contract the circular flow of income. Leakages are those macro variables which contracts the circular flow of income. These are of three types: imports, savings and taxes. When imports increases from Indian economy, which means less domestical production of Indian economy. Less domestical production means less income generation. Less income generation means less expenditure. Saving, when people of India tend to save, which means less expenditure in the Indian economy. Less expenditure means less production. Less production means less income generation in the Indian economy. Taxes, when government increases taxes on the production unit, then production tend to decrease. Production tend to decrease, income tend to decrease, and income tend to decrease, which means expenditure tend to decrease. So we studied injection and leakages, which expand the circular flow of income and which contract the circular flow of income.